Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. VCT Split 1 is not that far away at this point and scrims are back underway. Sentinels were having a decent result it seems last night against 2G, but it's not like they've been the most impressive team as of late. But also TenZ giving us perspective on the new agent, how good Waylay might be in ranked, but also certainly in competitive play and the team play elements that this new character may provide to the game, especially when Jet has to some degree fallen out of favour in recent months. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just an interesting thing here from Sacy. He was talking about signing a contract. I know that MIBR, I think it's MIBR, have been going back and forth with Sacy about this for a little bit of time now. So, yeah, we'll see if there's really anything on here that's actually happening. I don't think the reality is Sacy's coming back to the league or anything quite like that, but you know, he may be getting involved again somewhere. The funny thing, of course, with Sacy is that he's still got Sacy in his name, and it's still Sen_Sacy. Pretty funny, really. But yeah, we'll see where Sacy goes, if anywhere, as a content creator or elsewhere. This is what TenZ had to say on the new agent Waylay. Of course, we know that the likes of Zekken probably rather happy about it. And in terms of that duelist role, how good is Waylay gonna be? The dash abilities are pretty crazy, but as TenZ says, it's a different agent in many respects to Jet, because Jet can be a solo agent, right? Like you pop the smokes, you go in on your own if required, and you can just stay alive and end up baiting out the whole team if you want, but also being very effective. So Jet is a great agent, and especially, though, a great agent for ranks, right? Like, when you're not necessarily executing team play, then that's something to keep in mind. But Waylay is a little bit different. Incredibly rapid agent at times, with lots of potential as well, but less solo playmaking ability, which is potentially fine when it considers team play, because in competitive Valorant, in professional Valorant, when it comes down to pro teams, they do have excellent team play and chemistry and coordination. So Waylay does have, you know, some opportunities maybe there, especially with the dash, but also some of the other abilities to just be very effective indeed, and also to catch the enemy team very much so off guard on occasion. So TenZ was giving his thoughts, and then of course he got back from Bangkok a few days ago now, said definitely have to come back to that city someday. Fans here, wonderful to interact with. Shout out Riot for sending me here for Masters. Back to streaming soon, and of course TenZ, the next time he's going to be at an event, presumably is going to be he's going to go to Toronto, right? You would well think, for the event at Masters happening next up, and then of course after that it's the World Championship this year, I believe, in Paris. But this is what TenZ had to say on the new agent and how effective it might be.
Do you think Waylay will play Jet? I think Waylay will be played more in pro play than it is played in ranked, in my opinion. I think the character might be a little bit too team oriented and or team reliant to pop off, but I do think it will be really strong. Because the character does have stuff to like support yourself, but it's not like, for an example, if you're Jet, right, you can like dash into a site with 2 smokes to live for 7 seconds. Or how long is it? 3.5 or 3 seconds? Live for 6 seconds. I don't fucking remember. When are you going back to Canada again? I think next time I'm going back to Canada is for Toronto. I'll 100% play that character to fake entry. Oh yeah, that's pretty funny actually. They actually invented the Baiter duelist character. The character is gonna be made so like people will dash in with their TP on the back, and then pretend to go in, which causes like confidence for your teammates, and then they just teleport back, and then they're last man alive trying to clutch around. I already see the future of ranked. It's like the ultimate Baiter duelist character.
Which teams do you think will be happy and unhappy about the changes to the map pool that have already arrived? Abyss is gone, Bind is gone, many are happy about that, but you know, as Sentinels say, we're still in the shackles because it's Icebox and Ascent that of course have come back in. So yeah, what do you think? Ascent, I know that many people aren't a big fan of it because they think it's super stale, and fair enough, right? I totally understand that, but equally I think it's competitively sound enough. Icebox I'm not really a big fan of, but there are some teams that have historically rather liked it. Certainly, you know, Fnatic for some time were rather good on Icebox, notably. They used to dominate everyone on it at a time, but of course, now is a different time to what it was back then. And then even Sentinels in recent times have leaned that way. So I don't think Sen will be too mad about this change, really. Abyss gone. Not a map that they really massively enjoyed, it seems. They had some moments, but at Masters Bangkok, for example, it didn't really end in the way that they might have wanted it to. And yeah, Sen are obviously getting ready to go for the rest of the season. We'll see what that looks like here in just a second. Before we get there, these were the top performers in terms of multiple numbers over minimum of 100 rounds. So these are your best players, and Nats was actually right up there. Super impressive, I thought, from him on that Team Liquid team. He had a couple of just mind-blowingly impressive series, and sometimes you'll tend to find the players that win these numbers are not necessarily the players that win the tournaments, because T1, G2, they made the finals. You're playing the other best team in the world, so it's a challenge to maintain super high numbers if you obviously go really deep in a tournament. For example, there's no G2 representation here, and I think that speaks to some degree to the fact that they're a very well-rounded team, but also it's due to the reasons that I mentioned. But Nats had the highest KD with a 1.32, the highest ACS. Durka had the highest average damage per round. Great tournament from him. Kang with the highest first kill percentage, and then Izu with the highest number of total clutches anyway. Out of 61 attempts, he clutched 19 potential rounds, which is a pretty decent return. The dates everything kicks off, the Chinese region gets underway a bit sooner in just a few days' time. The Americas, I think the Pacific is the 22nd of March, the Americas is the 21st of March, and just a quick reminder, these are your groups. Everything, of course, is 0-0. Group Omega is definitely interesting. I mean, you've got C9, Furia, Lev, MRBR, NRG, and G2. Group A, on paper, is a bit easier, I guess, because 2Game, you've got them in there, Sentinels, Loud Crew, EG, 100C. I think Sen will be pretty happy with that one. Group Omega is certainly given the fact that MIBR, with Aspas, they looked pretty damn good. That is a scary group. And we do as well have some scrims to get into here. Pretty interesting, given, to me at least, the fact that Sen and 2G are in the same group going forwards. So there was a rumour as well on the Plat chat that T1, despite having won the tournament, were not necessarily cooking in scrims. In fact, potentially losing to a lot of teams in scrims during the course of their time. But VCT Scrims says that ain't true. That's not actually what happened here. Apparently out of, like 6 or so scrims they played, they won like 4 of them. That was the rumor anyway. And look, it would be a surprise, let's be honest, if the team that just won the biggest tournament of the year so far, and that defeated Edward Gaming and G2 Esports, 2 of the other top teams in the world on their way to do so, doing it from the losers bracket as well, that they would, not be able to win a scrim. Seems kind of doubtful to me. We do have some other interesting results. So Cloud9, they were playing Loud. That was a 6-1. And as you might note, Cloud9 and Loud are in different groups going forward, which is typically the way that teams can do it. They decide, all right, we are going to scrim teams from the other group, because if they play against a team in their group relatively shortly, then they might not necessarily want to scrim against them. It's not really a big deal, probably right now. Once the match days get confirmed, it's probably more of a big deal. But yeah, C9 scrimming cross-group against Loud, which makes sense, and they're up 6-1. We also got this, though. So the 2G team, the team that was frankly disastrous back at the kickoff, right? I mean, 2Game Esports, they turn up to the kickoff, they got 2-0'd by Furia, they got 2-0'd by Crew, of course. These are your Ascension winners from last year, and they got crushed 13-7, 13-5, and then against Crew, I think it was even worse, wasn't it? Maybe it wasn't, I can't remember. It was even worse. 13-3, 13-2. Yeah, so that was not pretty. They've not got to 10 rounds. I mean, what's the most they won? 7 rounds in a map in the kickoff. Not ideal, but, there's obviously some potential there. They're trying to improve. NRG was scrimming them. They're up 11-4. And then the other interesting series, Sentinels were scrimming them. And, well, it's difficult to read the numbers here. But Sentinels here were, we think, up 8-4. And, there were some questions on this, though, in the replies. Because as I was just mentioning, 2G and Sen are in the same group. So you wouldn't typically expect them to practice against one another, but maybe there's a feeling that 2G, they're just not going to be especially competitive, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe that's a consideration. This guy says you're wrong, but I'm sure it was 2G 24-0 to said 2G has not won a single scrim against a tier 1 team that I have seen. So yeah, not great, maybe not a massive surprise either. There was also this though with Qubit. So Qubit I think are pretty good, Redux and the guys over there. And EG were up 15-6 with, obviously, Potter here not playing but coaching the team. This to me is somewhat notable because Qubit I think should be one of the best teams in challenges. And if EG actually are significantly better and have improved significantly since their relatively disappointing showing at the kickoff, then maybe EG could be a bit of a force to be reckoned with. As I say, the groups, if we just go back to them here in a second, although maybe I've just absolutely deleted them, but it's okay, we can figure out a way to make it happen. EG are in that group A as well, with 100T, Crew, Loud, Sen, and 2G. That's at least how it presently stands. But intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Just one final question I thought was actually very, very interesting. What was better between these two finals? The most recent Bangkok final, T1G2, or Fnatic Loud from Lock-In all those couple of years ago? Now, I voted for the most recent one because, well, you can go either way. The Fnatic Loud series ended in spectacular fashion, a 11-3 comeback on the final map of the series in a grand finals. The context as well, the fact that it was in Sao Paulo, Loud with a home crowd favourite team, Fnatic pulled off the comeback, that was crazy. But if you remember that series, I think the other 4 maps weren't that interesting. It might as well have just been a best of 1. Whereas this Bangkok final, overtimes, okay, the first couple of maps weren't that close, but after that, overtimes, going down to the wire, the final map all the way to the distance, I think that series was better. But in terms of the full context of it, that's my opinion, and it was a great story as well for Korea and everything, and I don't know, I think you could argue either way, but intrigued to hear your thoughts as always in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.